go to Bethany in Fort Wayne. Listen to Kelly just producing the show like a producer. What's up, Bethany?
Hi, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, going.
Oh no. Oh man, what's up?
Well, I am calling because my husband and I have, well, mostly me. I've had issues with intimacy like since we've been married. We've been married for almost 5 years, and it's just like kind of a cycle of I work really hard and it's going good for a month or two, and then life happens and there's something big happens, and then I have to start all over again afterwards. And I'm kind of sick of it. I want to know how to end the cycle.
Yeah, no kidding. So, man, a couple of things you said are heartbreaking, and this is me, not at you, but me with you. So, A, I want to make sure we're saying the same things. When you talk about intimacy, you're talking about having sex, and you're talking about just the whole environment around sex in your house.
I guess.
Or tell me I'm wrong. What do you mean by intimacy?
Yeah, mostly sex.
Okay. And you say it's a cycle. What is? Tell me more about that. And talk directly into your phone. I can having a little bit of trouble hearing you. What do you mean when you say cycle?
Well, like when we first got married, I guess before we got married, I'd been almost engaged to somebody else, and there had been some boundary issues there, and it took me a while to get over those and actually get to where physical touch and other things were kind of enjoyable. And
when you say boundary issues, were you sexually assaulted?
Not necessarily assaulted, but like I never verbally said no, and it was nothing more than like French kissing. But I didn't want it, and he didn't respond to any physical cues that I was sending.
So that was your first time you were in a situation where you felt out of control of your own body?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And did you have abuse in your own personal past back when you were a kid?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. So fast forward to now, then you get married, and tell me about this cycle.
So that took me a while to work through. My husband is great. One of the reasons why I fell in love with him so fast is because he always asks before everything.
Mm-hmm. He's a consent guy.
Oh yeah, he's
good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So I worked through all those issues. I read a lot of books. I went to some therapy. I did some EMDR, and it got a lot better. And then, like, I can't remember what happened, but I'd have a season of depression, and then like something else would crop up that affected intimacy negatively for me. And it just like every time I'd get good at it, then something would happen. Like we'd have to move, or I'd have a kid, and then there's the pause after you have a kid, and it'd take me forever to get back into it. And I'd have to work through different things, but I'd have to work all over again.
Some of what you're describing is normal life.
Yeah.
Like you have a kid, and then everything's a disaster all across everything's a disaster, right? Mealtime's a disaster. Yeah. Sex is a disaster. Your body is not your own, right? I mean, so that adjustment period is natural. Can I ask you a question and tell me if I'm off base, okay?
Okay.
Did somebody tell you sex is really bad?
I don't think so. It wasn't talked about much growing up, but
because your body sounds like it has a response to it. It's not a safe place. Intimacy and connection in an ideal world is a place where you can go be fully yourself because there's nowhere to hide, right?
Yeah.
You've heard to like let your freak flag fly, or like it's where you literally have no clothes on in front of somebody else, right? And there's nowhere else to hide. So I'm going to be fully me. And Everywhere else I have to perform. I have to perform at work. I have to perform at my in-laws' house. I got to perform at my parents' house. I got to perform with my kids at school. But behind closed doors with somebody that like I'm handing all my trust to, man, we can get off the rails. It's a place of safety and security. And for your body, it is not. It's the opposite. Where does that come from?
Maybe some of the depression, probably. It just, I don't know, being that vulnerable is really scary.
Why is that scary? Like, why does your body go into neutral or go to shut down when you're being vulnerable? Because that would tell me that it doesn't only just happen with sex and intimacy. It happens when your husband gets frustrated or when you get mad or when you suffer a loss or heartbreak. Your body does very similar things. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Where did your body learn that your best bet, the best way to keep you safe was to disappear, was to shut it down?
I don't know. Just fears of not being good enough.
Who told you weren't good enough?
I don't think my family did, but I mean, it's a really big family. Probably myself, honestly.
Sometimes our families tell us things that plant seeds within us that bloom later on into really gnarly thorn bushes that make life really hard. And sometimes they plant no seeds. So we look up and we're 25 or we're 30 and we have our own kids and there's no fruit to draw on. There's nothing. And you can absorb the story that you're not even worth telling a story to. And then that becomes the story you tell yourself, which is you're not enough, or you're not going to do this right, or you're going to screw up, or somebody else is going to be disappointed, and. And then that guy who you love is like, hey, want to do it? And your body goes into, well, I could fail. I could screw this up. I could not be enough for him. I could fill in the blank. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's about right.
Okay. So here's the challenge that I'm hearing. There's two conflicting things happening. One is this depression that's haunted you for a long time, and you're trying to heal it episodically, meaning I want to not feel this particular way about a particular thing. So it's kind of like your house is on fire, and every time the smoke gets in your particular room, you turn on a fan to blow the smoke out. And you're trying to figure out where the smoke's coming from so you can blow the smoke out, when really what we need to do is put the fire out. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think so.
So the EMDR is trauma-based. And so if that was around your previous boyfriend taking advantage of you or not respecting or not responding to your cues, and then the resulting guilt and shame, all that stuff that comes from feeling like your body is not your own, right? When somebody steals that from you. EMDR is good for that moment. The broader conversation is sitting with a therapist and a counselor and talking about the generalized depression, the bigger picture. My body has learned over time, your story doesn't matter. You just need to disappear. And what we need to do is over time teach that body, nope, I've got needs. I want to live a fun, wild, reckless, exciting, fun adventures of a life because it's short and it goes by really, really fast. And I want to take everything from it I can. And I want to give everything I can. And so we're going to have to train our body over time about that. That's one thing. The other thing is just the natural ups and downs of being sexually intimate with somebody over a long period of time. Because there's babies and there's kids and then there's work deadlines and there's travel and then there's gained 30 pounds and then there's lost 40 pounds and then there's wrinkles and then there's, remember that time and we used to and now we don't anymore, and hey, you need to get testosterone and then you need to get hormone therapy here. There's just that, the nature of it. And so what I am seeing across the country is people shifting from it's always going to be on fire, which isn't true, Two, it can be pretty hot talking about where we are right now and discovering, hey, you're into this these days and you don't like this anymore, but you used to. You don't like this anymore and you want to try this. And have you thought about this? And that's a whole new level of intimacy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's more about taking that negativity that you feel surrounding, like, oh, we just had a baby. We haven't been sexually intimate in a long time. I can tell my husband's getting frustrated. I'm getting frustrated. But then my body tenses up and it goes to war every time we try something and it's uncomfortable and it's awkward. It's there that we're going to lean into that and turn that into a moment of intimacy in and of itself. Talking about it, laughing about it, being silly about it, trying and then stopping and trying. We're going to make that not something to run and hide from, but we're going to make that the focus. Is that ringing a bell?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess I have a question. Mostly just, I've been through therapy off and on for the last 3-ish years.
Okay.
And I only stop when I feel like I can handle it, and then I end up having to go back. How do I know when it's actually processed, or do I?
When your body doesn't take off on you. Here's the best way I can explain it is, and you can read about this in the book that I wrote. My body responded to economic crises. It acted as though when I saw a stock ticker and it had a red down arrow that the stock market had lost money, my body would respond so over dramatically. It was as though somebody had a hatchet and they were coming right for me. And I remember I used to laugh because I felt so out of control that a couple of folks in a couple of banks could take everything from me. And I was doing everything right in my home. I felt very, very powerless. Does that make sense? And then after counseling and working and building a non-anxious life over the last 5 to 6 to 10 years, now we're in a recession, heading towards a deeper recession. My body hasn't taken off one time, meaning I've been frustrated and annoyed, and I'm heartbroken when I can't buy bacon because the bacon prices are so expensive and I got to choose between bacon and bread. But I'm not staying up till 2 a.m. and then waking up again at 3:30 a.m. on high alert all the time, and I can't talk to my kids. I'm like a taser. So I'm healed. I'm still worrying about it. I'm still frustrated by it, but my body didn't go to war. And your body goes to shutdown. And so you will know when when your husband says, hey, is tonight a good sex night? And you say, no, not tonight, but I would love to just snuggle on the couch and hold you tight for a while and watch a show. And when you say those words, your heart doesn't start beating really fast. You're not washed over in shame and frustration, and you're able to own your needs in that moment. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it happens like that for a while, and then I start back over again.
So what I want you to do is to start really paying close attention when you feel the cycle starting. What is different? What is happening in your life? Is your diet different? Are you sleeping differently? Is your work schedule or your husband's work schedule? Is there a holiday coming up? What is it in the environment that starts to kick that cycle up again?
Okay.
And I just want to be really specific about tracking that kind of stuff, even if it's going to get a 99-cent journal at Walmart. And then when it comes to sex and intimacy, I want you really to remember this. This is from Emily Nagoski, who, if you haven't, I used to talk about the book all the time, and I haven't in a while. I recommend anybody who's having conversations in their home, like there's just a married couple sitting there talking about how they want to improve their sex life or change their sex life. There's a book called Come As You Are that Emily Nagoski wrote. It's a masterpiece. It's incredible. She was the first person I ever heard so eloquently put, outside of like nerd science journals, that there's no such thing as a sex drive. That's not real. That one person has more of a sex drive and one person has less of a sex drive. And women's sex drive is just men's sex drive light. That's not true. Really, sexual desire is a series of gas pedals and brakes. And the goal is, how can we work together, you and your husband, to take off as many brakes as possible and make the environment more gas pedals. What that means is you're not just focusing on what gets you off in the bedroom or what you will or won't do in the bedroom. It's more about how do we create a context in our home, in our life cycle, so that sex becomes a place that we want to run to, that becomes a great escape, not another chore. So what I mean by that is, like, is it a clean home? Is it all the dishes are done? Is it flirty notes throughout the day? Is it the oil changed? People who've had sexual trauma in their past, often smells are really intense. And so maybe it's no cologne, or you got to brush your teeth, or it's I need you to take a shower first. Whatever the things are, you don't feel good about your body, so we're going to dim the lights. Whatever the thing is, or the things are, we're going to create a world where sex can happen. Not we're going to try to force a game of baseball in the middle of a winter storm. No, dude, let's create a world where baseball sounds like it's a great idea. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
That can be a ton of fun for you and your husband to dream about. How do we create an environment that makes this, that there's no brakes and it's all gas pedals? And then we're going to put sex on the calendar. How many little kids do you have?
3.
Good gosh. Yes, you have to put on the calendar. And let me tell you, Bethany, nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to put sex on the calendar. I've never seen a Hollywood movie where they're like, hi, next Tuesday, 4:15 p.m. That has never happened. It's always like Titanic, and there's the car, and then there's like the handprint on the wall, and it's this passion, and I'm going to die for you. Blech, none of that's real. You got 3 little kids. You got to put on the calendar. And let's set a goal. 2 times a week. 5 times a week. 17 times. I'm just kidding. 17 times. That's a lot. If that's safe, that's how y'all roll. That's how you roll. That's a lot. But let's put on the calendar and let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. What would a world of nothing but gas pedals in your home be? And how can your husband honor you and help make that happen? And for him, what's a world of gas pedals? Not of just brakes of, oh, I don't like this. I don't like this. No, dude, what if this was the way our life was? And then we were very intentional about, we're going to have sex on these days at these times, and I'm going to help with bedtime. I'm going to help with this. I'm going to help with this. And we're going to create this context, and you are going to do the hard work of tracking this cycle so that when it starts heading south, you know, oh, it's when I eat this and do this and talk to them and don't take care of this, or it's when the weather gets like this, or it's possibly hormonal. I need to work with my doctor. That's when we're going to start pulling that apart. We're going to track it, and then we're going to teach our body over time that there's a different way to respond to some of these stressors. You're on the right path, Bethany, and be really gracious with yourself. You got 3 little ones. You're in Indiana. It's cold. Be nice to Bethany. Be nice to Bethany.